All right, here it goes.
Powered by Riverside.
Welcome back to the Sad Fan, where we talk about the good, the bad, and everything that made you sad. So let's just start on Thanksgiving because we were off last week for the holiday. And how about that Jack Harlow performance? Like, that's an obvious place to start, right? That was pretty bad, and I think it took a lot from his cool rating.
I'll be honest, I didn't see it, but I saw a lot of people ragging on it. I
wish you
I-
had lied. I wish you.
Well, the one I did see though was the
Yeah.
Dolly Parton, and apparently people really liked it. But I gotta be honest, good for her at her age, still being up there.
Yeah.
But I think it's time for her to hang it up because she didn't do anything. She horribly lip synced, and she didn't even really dance or anything. She just kind of moved around and
She's in her
was
80s, Wes.
Yeah, I know, but at that point, just hang it up. You had an amazing Hall of Fame career in music. What else is there left to prove? Why are you still doing this? It's just not entertaining anymore.
You're
seeing
the only
seeing
one.
an 80-year-old lady going out there try to be entertaining. No.
So it's
let the younger people do it. I'm sorry, but it's just the same with any other job.
Yeah.
I don't want 80-year-old people doing jobs that a younger person should be.
This is a hot take.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I don't want to get into politics, but it's just like politics, at 80 years old, hey, you probably shouldn't be involved in politics, you're starting to lose your faculties. Same with any other job. Hang it up.
I'm not saying
Dolly Parton, I love you. You had a Hall of Fame career. You killed it. You're amazing. Time to let go. Okay? Enjoy your life. What, you have billions already.
Yeah.
Maybe not billions, but hundreds of millions. So why are you still going out there doing these half-ass performances? Because you can't move.
This is a scorching hot take, and it was widely celebrated as a great show, and everybody was so.
It wasn't though. Imagine, okay, if you take away the age, imagine if somebody else came out there. Imagine if Dua Lipa or somebody else went out there, Beyonce, and they pulled that crap off. It would get bombed. It would get bombed.
I think they're doing a curve, a grading on a curve. You got to understand the situation. She's in her 80s.
It was not entertaining.
Okay. Well, so much for my Jack Harlow take as Wes just took his flamethrower to poor Dolly Parton. I will say that, it was a universal applause for that performance other than Wes. But in regards to politics, yeah, if you're going to, maybe, sorry, everyone, I hope they live forever in the regards to Dolly Parton. But if you're going to die soon, maybe don't make laws. if you were around to see the Great Depression, perhaps you shouldn't have a say in women's rights. Perhaps you should just keep your mouth shut. With all of that, we did have some football games. After all of the Dolly Parton stuff, there were some games on. And they were largely terrible.
They all sucked. The blowouts.
They were largely terrible. And one of the terrible games was your Seahawks. And I told you, well, one thing is, you learned how hard it was to watch football here in England.
Yeah. I tried to stay up, and I just fell asleep, and then I woke up in the second quarter. I watched a little bit, and then I woke up in the third quarter, and I was like, oh, this game sucks. We're getting our asses kicked. That's cool. I just went back to sleep on the couch. I was like, okay.
Yeah, so how was your trip, by the way? Let's let the audience know. Wes actually came out to England. We were supposed to film a show. We decided to take the week off for the holiday. So how'd that trip go?
It was great, except I had to deal with your crap all the time.
Yeah, chauffeuring you around all the time.
No, it was fun. Aside from the fact that UK is backwards, they like to do everything opposite for whatever reason.
Lights, instead of flipping up for on, they flip down
it's
for on.
It's after 1776, we were like, we're going to take everything stupid about the UK and make it good. Because America.
Very myopic, but funny. It's definitely different, and you got to drive on some of those really tiny roads that we have out here. See,
I
not the
I
work
did not
one.
drive because I probably would have crashed the car. But I
I
got
did
to see
offer
you
you.
drive.
I did offer you a
I said
chance to
no.
drive, and you turned me down. I said, "Nope, I'm good. You could just keep driving."
Yep.
All right, so
Jesus,
the
take the wheel.
I suppose the 49ers game, I felt bad for you because every time I
So
glanced at my phone, they would be in the red zone, and I was like half asleep too, trying to pass out. And I was like, man, I can't believe Wes is staying up to watch this. I feel bad for him because it seemed like the 49ers were in the red zone the entire game.
yeah, yeah. So kind of tying into the games, I will say Gino needs to get his act together. I don't know if he can because, in my opinion, he sucks, and we need to draft a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
After or before the Seahawks game, after Deron Bland got his 5th pick 6 of the
Yeah.
year, an NFL record, Gino was asked, or not Gino, DK Metcalf was asked about it, and he said, "Man, he has more touchdowns than I do." And I was like, that's a subtle shot at Gino. DK has 3 touchdowns on the year. 3.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but there's no excuse for that. I want Gino gone.
Also,
Get outta here.
kind of imagine where the Cowboys defense would be if they had Diggs healthy with Bland and
Right.
Diggs. Because Diggs is another one of those monsters. Remember, Diggs had last year where he had, what, 4 pick sixes? And he had almost 9 interceptions? That's
I think so.
ridiculous. And let's talk about the defensive linemen right now in the NFL. There is a slew of defensive linemen in the NFL right now that are just appear to be unstoppable. Right? You got Max Crosby on the Raiders. You got Daniel Hunter on the Vikings. Myles Garrett, TJ Watt. Khalil Mack is quietly having an amazing season on the terrible Chargers team. It seems like everybody has one of these guys now. And growing up, what shocks me is it seemed like there was a couple of them in the league. Like you look at Reggie White, you're like, dang, Reggie White's really good. Bruce Smith, dang, Bruce Smith's really good. Kevin Green, but it was always like a few. There was just a few scattered around. Now it seems like every single team has a mutant.
I mean, it's always fun to watch like one of those unstoppable ends that just like terrorize quarterbacks. And I mean, that's kind of like what I was hoping Clowney would be, but he just never really panned out because he was a monster in college. I mean, he was electric.
Yeah, I mean, what I loved growing up also is watching Julius Peppers, and he was probably my favorite as far as defensive linemen were concerned coming up. And that was the first guy, maybe DeMarcus Ware, that was really chiseled, right? Like ripped, like, I'm huge. All the other guys are big fat guys, super athletic, but big old fat guys, right? And now it seems like each one of these guys is just yoked, like ripped.
Adonis.
Fast. Yeah, like Myles Garrett does not look like what I remember being an all-star defensive lineman.
Right.
Aaron Donald, your nemesis over in Seattle, you get to watch him twice a year. That guy's he's a defensive tackle, and
Do I have to hear his name all the time?
How many defensive player of the years has he won at your expense? 2 of them?
Speaking of Julius Peppers, he was just nominated to the Final 25 for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and he deserves to be in.
First time. Yeah.
He was one of the funnest players to watch over the course of his career.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players in the Hall of Fame this year, like Antonio Gates, Julius Peppers, Tiki Barber. It's like they're going to have their hands full whittling it down from 25.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But aside from all of these teams, it appears, having amazing pass rushers per team, the NFL's been terrible this year. Can we just say that? Like, it's been fun, and somehow they'll always win. But let me just go over this with you. The entire NFC South, again, I mean, shocker, is under 500.
Losing records.
They're under 500.
Just like last year.
Your conference, the NFC West, which is typically pretty good over the last 5-6 years, awful.
Aside from the 49ers.
I don't know. Do you think the Rams are going to make a comeback right now after what they just did to Arizona? They beat Arizona by like 31 points.
No.
You think it's over because they're at 5-6, and you've got Seattle at 6-6. Of course, I'm not going to do the conference the honor of putting the 49ers in it right now. They're far and away the best team. But do you think either of those teams even has a shot?
At the playoffs, yeah. I think the Seahawks have a shot at the playoffs.
Oh my god!
I mean, it'd be a wild card.
You're
but
such a homer. You eliminated. You're like, no, the
No,
Rams suck.
I'm
Seahawks.
telling you what's going to happen. If we
Okay.
make the playoffs, we're going to be in the wild card, and then we're going to get our asses kicked in the first round, and we're going to be out.
I don't know. The Lions lost to the Packers over the weekend. Oh, and we're back to how bad the NFL's been this year because I thought the Lions were actually a pretty solid team. I went 9-7 on my picks this week. The Lions were one of the ones I thought was a lock for sure. Thanksgiving Day. They've sucked for 60 years on Thanksgiving. They've been terrible for 60 years on Thanksgiving. I'm like, this is their year for redemption. The Lions won't suck on Thanksgiving, and they're playing the terrible, terrible 4-6 Packers. Nope, Packers beat them.
I think it's a weird year because there's a lot of parity.
You think it's parody, or do you think it,
I mean, look at the
offense is
Broncos. The Broncos got blown out by like 60 points earlier this year, and now they're like 6-6.
bad? And they beat some good teams. They beat the Chiefs,
Yeah.
I believe. They
They beat the Chiefs.
beat the
They
Browns
beat-
last week.
yeah,
but
the
Browns didn't
Browns.
have their quarterback, but that's still an all-star Super Bowl defense.
Yeah, I think their last 4 games were against teams over 500,
Okay,
and it's like,
so you're a
what's
believer.
happening?
Are you a believer in the Broncos all of a sudden?
I don't know what to think.
I told you the NFL's bad this year. It's just weird. It's a weird year.
The only thing I know is the Eagles. That's all I know.
that's your true north.
Yeah, the Eagles.
I know somewhere out there the Eagles exist, and I can
Yeah.
watch them and see good football.
Yeah.
Well, they almost lost this week too, and they came back to beat the Bills, which leads me to say again, it's not a great year for football.
The Bills are another Frankenstein team.
because
They play
what
great against the
hell?
Eagles, and they get their asses kicked against crap teams.
What the hell happened to Buffalo? Is it the Madden curse? Because Josh Allen's still healthy. What is
Josh
going
Allen
on
is playing pretty good this year.
there? You think it's the defense? They can't stop anybody?
I think so.
You think Doug McDermott should be on the hot seat like Pat McAfee said?
Is that what he said?
Yes.
I mean, maybe. We'll see.
Well, that's real strong opinion
There's-
taking, Wes. That's
Well,
real
there's a
strong
lot of
opinion.
season to play. There's a lot of season to play, and I'm not an encyclopedia like you, so unless it's the Seahawks, I don't really pay attention to other teams' coordinators that much.
You gotta be. I gotta get you in the pre-production meeting better. I didn't support you enough. I need to give you more info, because you're a reader. I saw that this weekend. All this dude does is read Reddit sports, but it's
Yeah.
mostly it's mostly about Oregon. But
It's mostly
that's-
college football, actually.
All he does is read
Not just
Reddit
Oregon.
for hours and hours and hours. And you see, that's why a majority of our coverage starts to be college football, because that is Wes's wheelhouse. He lives in college football. But let's keep
I mean,
going.
it's more exciting than NFL. I mean, you said it yourself. The NFL is boring this year.
It's just bad this year. It's bad football this year.
College football is not.
Now, I will say for the Lions, I do still kind of believe in them, and I'm happy for them, and I want to see what they could do. But that loss to the Packers did not support their cause at all.
I don't know. I don't know what that was, but it was crap. And
Now you brought up the
it's hard to judge a single team by a single loss this year.
okay, that's fair. And you brought up the the Eagles in the same division or conference as the Cowboys, obviously.
And the
In division.
Eagles' sole loss was to.
You ready? You ready?
It was crappy. I remember that.
The New York
Was it-
Jets.
Giants.
Jets.
It was the Jets.
It was the Jets. It was the Zach
Okay.
Wilson quarterback Jets.
That's right. I was thinking it was a New York team. I just couldn't remember if it was the Giants or Jets.
It was the Jets.
And they benched Zach Wilson.
They
for,
did. Tim
What was
Boyle.
his name? Tim Boyle. Is he related to Susan Boyle, the
Oh
British
my
singer?
If you look at this guy's record, I didn't study it, but I've been listening to different coverage, and he's got like over the course of his career, he's got like 13 or 15 total passing touchdowns and like 50 interceptions.
So Tim Boyle sounds like a football player,
Does
like
it?
a European football player.
I guess so. I guess. But that
Pass me the
division-
ball, chap.
Everybody's saying the Cowboys are really good, and maybe maybe. I seem to think the Cowboys are the same team every year. I think that they're, going to finish above 500, maybe make the playoffs, and then lose in the playoffs. And we're gonna
Sounds
have to
like
hear about
another
it.
team I know. At least we won a Super Bowl in our lifetime.
Well, so did they. 1995, they won the Super Bowl. 1993.
Yeah,
Was it-
I
was
was
it-
still wearing diapers in '93. I was still peeing my pants.
What was 1995 and 1993? I want to say. I gotta look.
5
at
and
it.
7, whatever.
You're
I was still peeing my pants at 7.
You're making me think about it, and I know
Sucking
for
my
sure
thumb.
1995 because they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Super Bowl 30.
They beat Mr. Neil O'Donnell in the Super Bowl, but they also won one in the early 90s as well. All right, but with the Cowboys, do you think they even have a legitimate shot at the Eagles?
This year? Maybe.
No, next year was. Yes, of course this year. Of course this year.
I mean, if the Jets beat them, then why not the Cowboys?
They're just, to me, they're another team benefiting off of a very, very, very terrible conference. Because you know the other two teams in their conference.
You mean division?
Why do I keep saying conference? Yeah, you're right. In their division, you've got
Yeah,
the
Giants and
the Washington
DC
Commanders.
football team.
Yeah, the Washington Commanders and the New York Giants, who are
The
just
DC
terrible.
football team.
who are just terrible. Okay, and then we have our favorite division that's also awful. How does the South in the NFL be so terrible and so dominant in college football?
Is the AFC South all that bad, though?
Yeah, yes, they
The
are.
Jags and the Texans aren't bad teams, though.
So the Colts are 6-5, and the Texans are 6-5.
And the Jags are 5 and 6.
No, Jags are 8-3.
Oh yeah, how is that bad? 3 of their teams are over 500.
Because when you look at any of those teams, do you see them making any noise in the playoffs?
Yeah,
Which ones?
actually, the Jags and the Texans.
All right, whatever you say. You're giving
CJ Stroud is really good.
He's been good. He's been very good. I've already admitted it. We're not going to rehash that stuff. He has been good. But let's just move out of the NFL because I think I've proven my point. It's just been weird. It's been a weird season. It hasn't been great. The Chiefs are back, then they're not back, then they're back, then they're not back.
Talking about Ohio State quarterbacks,
Mhm.
McCourt sucks. I told you when the Buckeyes had the ball and they were driving to
You
win
did
the
say
game.
this at the end of the game.
I said there's only 2 ways this game ends. Either Harrison gets a touchdown or McCord throws a pick. What happened? McCord threw a pick.
You did say it. You did call it right before the drive even started. You said that's how this drive is going to end, and you're right. And I
100%.
told you because I know I've watched more Ohio State football than you this year. You kind of relied on the win-loss.
No, you haven't because you live in wacky time zone and half of the games are at 3 a.m. your time. So don't
Yes.
give me that crap.
What are you doing? Stop. I already named him. I'm not going to do this with you again where you could just bullshit. All right. But I told you McCord was a bad quarterback. And you were like, and then like by the second quarter, you're sitting on the couch laughing. You're like, he's really bad.
No, I knew he was bad. I could have told you that.
He's really bad. And if it wasn't for Marvin Harrison, or as Gus refers to him, Maserati Maher, they didn't have a chance in that game on offense.
But also, if you put a good quarterback in there, they win.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I don't think this is a good Ohio State team. I've told you this repeatedly. I don't think, and you were like, well, what about Michigan? I was like, I don't know that Michigan's good without Jim Harbaugh coaching them. And sure enough, they were just okay. They were good enough to win that game, right?
That was a good game.
It was fun. It was probably the better game out of all of the rivalry games. But it. Oh wait, no, can't be right.
Nope.
The Iron Bowl happened.
Yeah, you were talking, and UW Wazoo was also an exciting game. I mean, granted, they both sucked, but it came down to the very end.
It wasn't just the two of us. That doesn't make a good game. Stop doing that. Stop saying the team that wins games is a great team, and stop saying just because a game came down to the last minute, it was a good game. That game was so bad. All 3 of us.
The definition of a good team is winning games. I don't know how many times I need to tell you this. Don't shush me.
You need context.
Look up the definition.
You need context. Oh, is it?
How do you win a championship? By winning games.
Is it in Webster's dictionary? Anyway, You don't like to add context. Yeah, I get it. You're the contextless fool that runs through the streets and goes, "They beat so many teams." I'm like, yeah, Purdue, Indiana, Illinois. Like, just stop. All right, but here's the funny thing: is every single one of us watching that Washington State game, including the other person that went to Washington. I need to always remind the audience: Wes went to the University of Washington. All right,
Cool, bro.
wanted that game to end. We were all like, I just want this game to end so I can go to
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah,
Every single one.
exactly. I mean, the very end though was exciting, and
Okay, that I will give you. I'm not going to let you hyperbolically say it was a great game because it was not a great game, but the end was exciting.
yeah, and this is why college football is better, because we were watching two games. We had, because you live in the UK, there's no way to watch college football there for some reason. So we were streaming it. We had the Washington State game up on the TV, and then you took your laptop and we were watching the Iron Bowl, and we were just like going back and forth, back and forth. I don't really see that happening with any NFL game this year.
Yeah, it's been rough for the NFL. It has. There's been a game in each window, right? But red zone makes NFL fun. NFL will always win because one, fantasy football, two, gambling, three, it's only 18 games a year. So it's always going to be interesting because of that. Go ahead, Wes.
But enough of ragging on the NFL this year. Let's go back to that Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
That was 10 years from the anniversary of the kick six. I felt like this was Auburn's middle finger, or this was Alabama's middle finger to Auburn.
Yeah.
Because that was, I don't think I've ever seen worse play in like the final 2 minutes of a game than that.
What's funny is, we're going to go back. We're going to talk about this game. But Milroe, after the game, was yelling, "Where's my Heisman? Give me that Heisman." And I'm just like, okay, because he threw that touchdown pass, are we all just going to forget that they probably should have lost because of him? He threw a touchdown past the line of scrimmage in the first half and then did it again on the final drive. He did it twice. And I'm like, you're not winning no Heisman, man. Over a 6-6 Auburn team, you think you get a Heisman? You should have lost that game.
And what was the other screwed up? He was it the snap? He fumbled the snap.
The snap went way back, and he got sacked on that play.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. He like tried to like pick it up, and then he ended up like kicking it or something and losing 30 yards.
Yeah, he slipped and fell. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he slipped.
Because I was like, "What are you doing there? You got to pick that up and throw it away." But then you're like, "No, look, he slipped." And sure enough, he slipped and fell. And in college football, if you're not familiar with the rules of college football, which I think most of our audience is, you can't get up like the NFL. If you're down, you're down.
Yeah, it's not down by contact. You're down.
Yep. But I think Auburn lost that game, man. I don't think Alabama. Yeah. It was a great throw at the end. I'm not taking away from that throw. That throw and that touchdown. Also, what the heck?
Defending of Hail Mary is like one of the first things you're taught.
Yeah, and they were in man coverage in the back half. They were in a soft zone up front, and they had what were they doing?
They had their thumbs up their ass. That's what they were doing. They thought they won the game. So I think they were just like lollygagging, like, "Oh, whatever. This is a Hail Mary. We're gonna knock it down." And yeah, because there were like two guys just watching, and they weren't running towards the play. And I was like, "Well,
Nick Saban, believe it or not, we practice that." No, I believe you practice it. It's just not supposed to work.
No. And if it does, it's supposed to be some crazy thing where the defense bats it down and then some receiver is right there at the right time. And it's like, well, you can't really stop that.
And we can't forget what set this all in motion, Wes. A muff punt by Auburn.
Yeah. Two miracles in like the last minute of the game.
They should have lost that game about 17 times in the final 5 minutes of that game. And it was a fun ending.
This is the team that in the same stadium that Alabama was just playing in got blown out by New Mexico State by 21 points. New Mexico State.
I love that you say that like I don't know which one you're talking to. If you're talking to Auburn, you're kind of saying, "How dare you have the nerve to do this to Alabama?" But if you're talking to Alabama, you're like, "How dare you have the nerve to say you're good after that game?"
I don't care if it's a rivalry game.
Yeah.
Like this is one of the worst Auburn teams in like recent times. And you put up that.
It was an exciting game, but Alabama should have lost that game 17 times over. And because Ohio State lost their game against Michigan, as we already talked about, FSU squeezed back in, but I think it's much ado about nothing because I do think they're about to lose their championship game. What do you think?
Against Louisville? I think so, but I feel like Louisville is so unpredictable.
Okay.
If they played like they did against Notre Dame, they're smacking LSU or FSU.
So if Texas
Easy.
wins their championship game and FSU loses, is Texas in?
Oh,
They're
100%.
winning
Texas is in.
So you think Ohio State is out completely?
Yeah. Unless the only way Ohio State gets in is if Texas and Alabama lose their conference championship game.
So you said Texas and Alabama, FSU too, right?
Yeah, and FSU.
So all three of those teams. So total chaos is what Ohio State needs, in your opinion, to get in?
And then it'll be Georgia, and then Michigan, Oregon/Washington, and then Ohio State.
So you're not even giving Iowa a chance against Michigan?
No. Hold on. Did you see the odds for that game?
No, isn't it like 35?
So the over/under on Iowa's first half points is even money at 0.5.
0.5.
Yeah.
Las Vegas is done with this game. Las Vegas has had enough. They're like
the under is even money. So if you bet on Iowa getting shut out in the first half, even money. Never seen that before.
They're so bad on offense.
Vegas doesn't think they're going to score.
They're just bad. They're so bad on offense. So someone did like a charting of the worst offensive teams in college football history, and the only team in the modern era is Iowa this year.
Yeah.
Every other team on the chart is like a 1950s service academy or 1990s service academy school. That's it. It's just Iowa.
It's bad. I don't think they have a chance. They have a really good defense. Don't get me wrong, but Michigan has a good defense too, and I don't see Iowa scoring more than 3 or 7 points.
Yeah,
I think the only way they score is if Michigan turns it over in their own zone.
I know you hate this, and I don't always like this, but I kind of believe in it. Michigan's got a little bit of passion and momentum on their side. You know why, Wes?
And they'll have Harbaugh back.
That's why I was going to say they got a lot of passion. They're going to do it for Harbaugh. They're going to go out there, and I think that kind of sucks for Iowa that this is the game he comes back for, because I think they're going to put it on Iowa with Harbaugh back in the building.
Yeah. I will ask you this one question, though. Do you like to watch punts? Because you're going to see a lot of them.
A lot of punts in this game. Well, they have an amazing punter in Iowa. Did you see the sweatshirts that the people in the crowd were wearing?
What'd they say?
They just said punts.
Punts. We like to punt.
That's our thing.
I mean, he's been getting a lot of practice. You know, you do something over and over and over again in a real game situation, you're going to get pretty good at it.
It's not a huge weekend, but it'll be a fun weekend in championship weekend. I think that most of this has already played out the way it's supposed to, and now we'll see. I mean, I just can't see that Alabama team upsetting Georgia at all. So I think we're going to get a lot of chalk this weekend outside of FSU Louisville, and we'll see where the cards are or where the cards lie. But I do think it will be at the end Georgia, Michigan, probably either winner of Washington versus Oregon. We didn't talk about that game.
Who's it going to be? Who do you think it's going to be?
Oregon's definitely been playing way better than Washington as of late.
Yeah, the thing that scares me, though, is I feel like Washington plays to their opponents.
I agree.
So I feel like they're definitely going to step it up against Oregon. But
Yeah.
man, if we get the same team that showed up against Washington State, they're getting blown out of Las Vegas.
For some reason, Washington always plays to their competition, and I can't tell you why. But I was about to say, but I think Washington's going to play better just because they're playing Oregon.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to do a little bit of, we got about 4 minutes to cover the NBA in-season tournament. So I'm going to let you fire away because I've already given my comments on the NBA in-season tournament a couple weeks ago when I did the solo show. So what are your thoughts so far?
It's stupid.
That's what I said.
It's stupid. Why are they doing this? It's so confusing. There's schedules shifting left and right.
Yeah.
People don't know who they're going to be playing. It's dumb. And all it gets you is $500,000 per player if you win.
And a trophy.
Yeah.
And a trophy.
Why? The NBA Cup. Are we trying to be like European football now?
They are.
No,
they are. That's the
it's
whole goal.
stupid.
That
it's
is the whole
stupid,
goal.
though. I know, but it's just dumb. Just play the regular season. You get to the playoffs. You do your tournament there. Okay, it works in college basketball.
There.
Yeah, you do your tournament there. Okay,
Is your tournament.
we need one tournament per season. Okay. I mean, it works in college basketball because there's all sorts of little mini tournaments everywhere, and there's a bajillion teams.
Yeah.
But we don't need this in the NBA. Should we start doing it in the NFL?
We don't need this
Little
in the
in-season
NBA.
tournament?
And Wes doesn't need this in his life. He has had enough.
No, it's dumb.
What do
Okay,
you think of the courts?
and it's you play a in-season tournament game, and then your next 3 games are regular season, and then you play another in-season or tournament game, and then you lose and you're out, and then you don't know what your schedule is until everything's settled. And
What do you think about the specialty courts?
I don't care. Do it all
Have you
fancy,
seen that?
whatever. How about you do that? Yeah, I saw the Spurs. I think
So, what do you
Just-
think?
I don't care. I feel like that's more of a college thing.
All
Doing
right.
fancy courts is a college thing. And if an NBA team wants to do a fancy court, then sure, do it. But
You don't need
whatever.
a tournament for it.
yeah, you don't need a tournament for it.
All right, so we don't do this a lot.
Go away. I hope this bombs and they don't make any extra money from it. They're like, okay, let's never do that again.
We don't do this enough on the show, but I am a huge fan of European football. Most of the audience knows that I've done. If you follow us on Instagram, if you follow us on TikTok, I've done some videos, some TikToks from the stadiums of different teams. This is my team here, Aston Villa, and they beat Tottenham this last
Tottenham
weekend.
Hotspurs.
And that puts Villa in the top 4 since I've been a fan. I've been a fan since about 2011. So
Big
I've
whoop.
been around for 12 years through the championship. And they are now in the top 4. They're doing great in European football. They've got a big match this week. Please tune in if you have Peacock or if you have NBC Sports. Check them out. They're an amazing team. They're fun to watch this year.
I'm
Go
a
ahead,
big
Wes.
fan of FC Bayern for the last year, ever since I went to Munich. And guess
That's
what?
right.
They're undefeated. They never lose in the playoffs.
The guy in the play. There's not a playoff. All right, they got Harry Kane. Tell me you're American without telling me you're American.
Well, maybe European football should do playoffs. This is why they're backwards.
And this is why you joined us here on The Sad Fan. We appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week. Please keep watching. We're going to do some renovations to the show. We will get Chelsea back, even if it's on an interview status. Remember, she is moving in and out of New York, from Texas to New York, from New York
We're
to
going to have a
Texas,
disco
Texas to New
ball.
York. We'll have a disco ball. We'll do some new things. We appreciate you. Remember to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and X at The Sad Fan Cast, and The Sad Fan 12. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week.
Quack, 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 quack.
No way.